Oh,
We
I
have
see.
a running WhatsApp group. That's in. Oh, Alexis, you're in it as well. We have a running WhatsApp group. That's a club enough.
I
Yes,
am, but I'm not an active participant. Because I am not an active runner at the moment. So funny how a thriller chat has led to my lack of exercise regimen. But there you go. Hello, fellow readers. I'm Alexis, and this is the Tandem Collective YouTube channel. And in this video, we are going to continue our genre chat series with members of Team Tandem. And I'm very excited to have with us today Lex, Jenny, and Aurora from the team to talk about all things chilling, scary, and mysterious. And I'm going to start by asking what types of thrillers you all like to read, just because there are so many subgenres that are quite recognizable as like political or crime thrillers, but there are some that are less known and perhaps, you didn't even realize were out there if you're watching. So I'm going to pull up a little graphic to help us.
I like the fonts, Alexis.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I do try. I am now on the graphic team at in Tandem, so I do enjoy. So yeah, Lex, why don't you start? What kinds of thrillers do you like to read?
My gut reaction whenever this question is asked is always psychological. I really like that kind of gaslighting. Do I actually know what's going on, or do I not know what's going on? Who do I trust? Can I even trust myself as the reader? I'm not sure. And because of that, I also really like the unconventional detective. I like to see myself as a little bit of an armchair detective. I've read so many crime thrillers, so I like to think that I can kind of figure out what's going on. But it means that I love books like Mysterious Case of Alpert Angels by Janice Hallett. That kind of unconventional detective really works for me.
Which we just did a read along for as well. Yes. Or are we in the middle of? Yeah.
No, it's just finished and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so much fun.
I'll drop the link to the read along cards in the description if you're interested in joining in on that. But fabulous. Jenny, how about you? What do you think of this?
So kind of similar to Lex, actually. Love a psychological thriller, and same, I love being able to try and work it out. I do, and this sounds really stupid, I like to try and work it out, but if I get it right, I get a little bit disappointed because I'm like, it should have been harder than that.
You like to play the game, but you don't want to be right.
Then I want there to be a twist and to be like, whoa, where did that happen? So yeah, love the psychological, love the unconventional detective. I'm not such a fan of the police procedural legal ones. I like the kind of really nitty gritty, dark, deep crime, although saying that as well, horror terrifies me.
When you say police procedural, what do you mean by that? Because I'm not sure how that kind of like differs.
So like for me, a crime fiction would be where there's been a crime committed and you are kind of following, sometimes from the criminal point of view, or sometimes, from like the witness or something. But for me, the police procedural is more where you're following the police. What I quite like with a lot of other thrillers is actually someone else is beating the police, or, solving things. Again, like the unconventional detective, you're solving things which the police aren't seeing. So for me, sometimes when you're following it from the point of view of the police and you've got the processes in place, I don't enjoy that quite so much. Similarly with legal, so things like, say, old school John Grisham's where it's set in a courtroom, I'm like, no, I want to see the criminal doing all of like the actual crime rather than the aftermath.
Like the spooky stuff, the
stuff that gives you nightmares.
Right, yeah, totally. Aurora, how about you? Do you agree?
It's quite different because I really like thrillers told by the police detectives. I like how they get one clue and then that clue leads to discovering something else that is helping, solve the case. I quite like that. But I also like the police officer not being very reliable. I like when they have, personal drama going on as well. And that's another side of the story. But I would say that my favorite one is definitely psychological as well. I like when, books play with my mind and I don't know if, where it's going to lead. I like when there is a final plot twist that I'm like, oh my God, how did I not see that coming? It's like, wow. So I like that effect.
Yeah, I feel like thrillers, you're so in it for like the journey and the experience, even the parts where you're not sure what's going to happen, or you don't know what's reliable information or not, which is why I wanted to ask this next question. Lex, you and I have discussed a bit, different formats of reading thrillers. And I particularly like listening to them because it's just a different kind of experience when you're listening to like a scary story. So I wanted to ask the three of you if you do at all listen to thrillers, if you prefer to read them, or a mix of both.
So I'm a mix of both. I do listen to thrillers, but I do predominantly read with my eyeballs. And for me, the main reason is I can't listen to an audiobook just sitting still doing nothing else. I have to be doing something. Whereas I can sit on the couch and read a book for like 7 hours straight without thinking twice about it. I can't do that with an audiobook. So when I'm listening to a thriller, it's a lot more broken up for me, because I'm listening to, say, an hour while I'm on a dog walk, and then another hour when I'm cooking dinner later on, rather than in a whole run. And again, something that I just love about thrillers in general is the fact that you can get completely sucked in and you just need to carry it. It's always just that one more chapter. What's going to happen next? Where's the next clue? So I prefer reading physically, personally.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair. Aurora, how about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Jenny. I do like listening to books and I do like reading on my Kindle, but when it comes to thrillers, I think the holding the book, being on the edge of your seat, like trying to turn another page, like, oh my God, what the twist is going to be. I love that. And it's different when you are listening to it. So I would prefer reading it physically 100% all the time.
Lex, what do you think?
I feel like I'm a bit of a traitor to the conventional norm. Because had you asked me last year, I would have said it's a paper book or nothing. But then, of course, Alexis, you and I both know that I kind of fell in love with the Lisa Jewell audiobooks for The Family Upstairs, The Family Remains. Right. And I think that like multicast narration of an audiobook changes things for me a little bit. It definitely is not my first tip-top favorite format to read in, but I will also quite happily listen to it as well, whereas previously I was super reluctant. I think the only thing, particularly with the more twisty psychological thrillers, is that I like to go back. So if the twist has just been revealed, I go flick back a few pages and I'm like, right, what did I miss? Or where's the clue that leads up to this? Whereas that's really hard to do in an audiobook. Mm-hmm. So like Jenny, if I've played the game and I've been wrong, I need to go back and find out. And that's what makes me love a book, because I can see the trap that was laid and how I fell into it. Mm-hmm. Whereas I can't do that on audio, multicast narration. So yeah, I'm either or. I'm happy to take either.
I mean, you make such a good point. Multicast narration, I think, is becoming more popular because people are really enjoying getting that perspective. It's like the BBC radio dramas. But yeah, on your point of like being able to go back, I just read a physical copy of a thriller for the first time in like a year. And the twist near the end, took me so off guard that I literally did like go back and be like, wait, is that actually like, am I getting that right?
Wait, is this a recommendation coming in from Alexis? What have you got?
Sure. I have this little gem right here, The Eighth Girl. And it is by Maxine Mei-Feng Chung, who is actually a psychiatrist, which makes her perfectly qualified to write this book about a protagonist that has DID, or dissociative identity disorder, aka multiple personalities. I've always been fascinated with like, I guess what you would call abnormal psych. I think I got this actually maybe during the Tandem retreat at one of the bookstores that we all visited. And was very excited to read it and got me back into reading physical thriller books. Mm-hmm. If you're watching, let us know in the comments if you read thrillers, if you listen to thrillers, or a combination of both. Also, if you are interested in dipping your toe into the audiobook world, one of our other genre chats in this playlist is all about audiobooks with other members of the team. Also, let us know what types of thrillers you read. Were there any that we didn't mention that you have a soft spot for? Let us know in the comments. And now I'm going to ask, what is the best twist you have ever read in a thriller? But don't worry, folks, we're not going to spoil anything. We're just going to like let you know what the title is so you can experience it for yourselves.
So I was thinking about this because I love a twisty book, and I don't know my favorite, so I'm going to go with the last one that I adored, which I have right next to me, which is Dear Child by Romy Hausman.
Oh, yes, I love that one. Wait.
It literally kept me up at night. I was constantly like, what's happening? Who's this person? How is this getting where here? What's going on? And yeah, the twist and everything by the end, I was just shocked. Loved it.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited you mentioned that because I feel like it's so underrated. People don't really know about it. I listened to it like a year and a half ago and just thought it was fantastic. So, hey, yeah, Dear Child. Aurora, how about you?
Okay, I think I know which one Lex is gonna say. So I'm gonna choose another one, but hers is really good as well. I'm gonna say The Silent Patient. Oh my goodness. Like that book kept me guessing all the way until the end. I had no idea who the patient was. I had no idea why she wasn't talking. And then when the final twist was revealed, and I was like, of course, it makes sense. But yeah, like I had no idea what was going on until the last page. I love that one.
That's also my go-to for like my favorite twist. I think that book got me back into reading thrillers during COVID. Yeah, I think it's brilliant. Okay, so what is this mysterious book you've referred to with Lex over here?
I don't think it is mysterious at all, because I think I tell people this all of the time. So I have this recommendation, but I brought a backup as well because it felt like I needed to bring something new to the table. The first title, and the one that Aurora is referring to, is I Let You Go by Claire McIntosh. I can't tell you anything about it aside from the fact that it was one of those twists that you read and then you go back to the beginning of the book and you start again because you're like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, no, sorry, hang on, hold on a second. But because I always use that as my go-to twist recommendation, I'm actually also going to bring Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. We were talking about it just before. Yes, it's an excellent book. The whole way through, it is atmospheric and almost kind of gothic. And it's definitely psychologically thrilling. And then you get to the end. Such a good book. It's one of those books that I wish that I could read again.
Wow.
Like,
well, I guess this is
fresh
going
again.
Yeah, this is going to go now to the top of my TBR, I think, because I don't know anything about it really, but I'm sold.
We did a read along for it, like way back when it first came out. And it was one of our top performing read alongs for like a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
It really held on to that top spot for a long time.
I think it's probably still up there as well. It's definitely still in the top 10.
Great.
Yeah, I will link to the read along cards and the highlight for Rock, Paper, Scissors for the tandem read along in the description, so you can find it there if you're interested. Also, you've done a whole bunch of interviews and events with Claire McIntosh, Lex, haven't you?
Yeah, I can get you links for those. So if you want to put them downstairs as well, I can get you those.
Great. Yes. So those will be in the description as well. Well, thank you for your recommendations. Now we're going to play a little game.
I'm excited.
Yes. And I feel like, Jenny has already played one of my genre games before. So I feel like but this one's different.
I'm even more excited though because
yeah. That's what I mean. Okay. So
wait, does Jenny have the upper hand? Is she cheating?
I don't think so, despite it being a Alexis genre chat game vet. This one is very different.
Not that I'm competitive at all.
Yeah, we'll see.
But Lex, I am going to beat you, so.
Oh, okay, Alexis, it's on. Like, let's go.
All right. So I'm going to share my screen. So this is a little game called True or Plot. So if you are a true crime fan, this is also perfect for you, because in this game, I'm going to give a 1 or 2 liner of a crime or a narrative, and these guys are going to have to guess whether this is a plot from a book, from a thriller, or if it is a true story, true crime.
Oh my gosh. What happens if it's both?
That would be a great twist. Yes. Okay, so let's start with our first one. So after 2 bodies are found covered with flowers, a group of bird watchers and a deep family rivalry leads investigators to the killer. What do we think?
I think that's a plot.
I'm gonna say plot. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like I've read that synopsis, but also I was thinking it was a skeleton key, but it isn't, because Lex would have 100% recognized that.
I think the bit that's throwing me off is the bird watchers. I'm like, yeah, 2 bodies found covered with flowers. Okay, that sure, yeah, that
The
group
deep
of bird
family
watchers.
rivalry, I feel like that doesn't happen very often in real life. Like, that's a plot.
But that's why I'm going like, oh, I don't know. Is she throwing us off and she's going like crazy Shakespeare?
Yeah,
She's not. I'm sure she's not. But
All right, so final answers, everyone?
I'm gonna stick with
Yeah.
that.
yeah, I'm happy to go with the Groupon plot.
Okay, all right, let's see. And
Yeah.
any ideas of what this book might be or who the author is?
Covered with flowers, a group of bird watchers. Pass.
Okay, all right. So this is Hidden Depths by Anne Cleves. She's got such a huge body of work, and I believe it's Vera and Shetland are 2 of her series that have been adapted into TV shows. Yeah, and I think this episode is also one of the ones they made into, or this book, I should say, was made into a TV episode. So yeah, hopefully you're intrigued and you'll check out the book. Moving on to our next. A body drained of blood is found and turns out to be the wife of a comic book writer and the heir to a construction materials manufacturer.
I don't know why, but I'm saying true.
Same.
There is no logic behind that.
That's what your gut is saying. And gut instincts are important in the thriller world, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm gonna say true crime as well.
I'm curious, Lex, if you're trying to analyze this for elements of a thriller or if you're going through your Rolodex of thrillers.
A little bit of both, but I think I'm also just very suspicious of you and the clues in general.
Ooh.
Well, because I'm like, oh, okay, this sounds like a book until I get to and heir to a construction material manufacturer, because I'm like, well, why is that relevant? Why is that useful? Unless it's like a huge business conglomerate. But I also I could be absolutely talking out my ass. I'm taking this game too seriously.
That's what makes it fun.
No, I'm going plot.
Okay. So final answers. We have plot and
True crime.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay with true.
okay.
I don't know why.
And the answer is true.
Oh, damn it.
That is true.
I was like, comic book writers. Absolutely not. It's going to be.
Yeah. So this guy who's a comic book writer did this horrible, terrible thing to his wife. I put in the clue construction materials manufacturer because I thought that sounded, well, the air part I felt like sounded like a plot. And also like that's the kind of like plastic sheeting that you see in a lot of like thriller TV shows with serial killers and that kind of thing. So I was trying to throw you off that way.
Wow.
I mean, you did. You threw me off. I'm in a curve.
All right. So moving on. Series of disappearances in a park popular for chess players is connected to a 9-year-old university murder and a chessboard with numbers on every tile.
I totally read that as a 9-year-old murderer.
Oh gosh, no.
I was like,
I was worried about that actually. I did think, like a university murder from 9 years previously.
Yes, I'm a chessboard with numbers.
You know, reopening one of those.
I'm gonna say
Yeah.
plot.
Yeah, I was going to say true until the second chessboard reference came in.
Yeah.
That makes me think plot.
Okay, those are your final answers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Plot.
I'm trying to keep like the most straight face possible, you guys. Okay, and the answer is true.
Hell.
So this is actually Alexander Petrushkin, or the chessboard killer. You know, there were a lot of disappearances in the park where like chess playing was popular, you know, in those like public chessboards. And it was him, but he didn't get caught until many years later, and police discovered this chessboard he had. And his goal was to kill 64 people, one for each tile. So he killed at least 61. And then he also said, though, if he finished this board, he was just going to start another one. So
Oh my God.
quite chilling.
I feel like all of my listening of true crime podcasts has not equipped me well enough.
They said he was like one of Russia's most famous serial killers. But yeah, and like he was like a chess prodigy as well. Like he would play in that park when he was a kid with his grandfather. So it like all comes back to chess.
Happened in Russia, the murders.
Yeah, it was all in Russia. I mean, chess, it would happen in Russia. There's going to be like a chess serial killer.
Oh my God, Alexis, are you getting a musical theatre reference into everything that you do?
Oh, chess. I didn't even think of that, because that's actually, shocker, musical I'm not super familiar with. But thank you for doing it for me.
You're so welcome.
Okay, next one. Investigators connect the killings of blonde and redhead women to an email offer asking recipients to choose between red or white wine.
What?
Oh,
Very strange. You know, I think I'm going to go true. I feel like every sentence that Alexis gives us, my brain just goes, yeah, that was an episode of Criminal Minds, which is absolutely no help whatsoever right now.
it sounds like, have you read the one? It sounds like it could be a part of a book like that where there's multiple characters.
All right, final answers on this one.
I'm gonna go for true crime as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to just
Jenny?
break the norm and say plot.
Okay. And Jenny has it. Is
Is it the one?
any idea of who the author is or what book it is? No.
Okay.
So this is actually The Preference by A.K. Alexander, A.K.A. Michelle Scott, a Team Tandem favorite. And I believe it's the second book in her Holly Jennings detective series. And also Shar just did an interview with Michelle, and I will link that in the description as well, where she talks about the Holly Jennings series that she's writing. But yeah, so this was a plot, ladies and gentlemen. We have two left, and this one is: a woman dies of arsenic poisoning, which is linked to a box of chocolates with the note, "With love to yourself and baby."
Ooh, I'm gonna say true crime.
I feel like I've read that. I don't know. I might be getting confused.
Alexis, are you doing strictly books here, or are there films here too?
No, it's just books.
Just books, okay. I just feel like arsenic is such a, like, it's almost a literary trope in itself.
That might be why I'm thinking I've read it.
I was
feel like
thinking
we
that Cary Grant film. Oh, with the two old ladies, they use arsenic in that one. And they're
Is it
seeing
called
these two
Arsenic
sweet
and Old
little old
Lace?
ladies. Oh yeah, Arsenic and Old Lace. Duh. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm gonna go fiction because it seems quite like poetic and lyrical, and arsenic makes me think of like old school murders. I feel like if somebody was going to be poisoned, it's probably the Russians, and they're probably using poison.
With the chessboard killer, yeah.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Okay, so we've got one for plot, Aurora for true, and Jenny
True.
for plot.
Plot.
Plot, and it is.
Oh my God!
Got it. So this is a challenging one.
Oh, it was an old school one.
1904.
Yeah.
Hey, I never gave you a time period range. But yeah, so this woman, she sent from California to Delaware, she sent this box of chocolates to her husband's mistress. It was actually the first, I think, murder to be prosecuted like in multiple states in the US and like multiple jurisdictions. So this woman and her sister at this party, they ate the chocolates and they died, and a bunch of other people at the party were very, very sick from it. So yeah, sure. There you go. Last one. A fatally injured man is found on a golf course. His last words and a photo in his pocket leads to a sanatorium.
I haven't read it, but sanatorium is too obvious for this one, isn't it?
I've read it, and this isn't the sanatorium.
Hmm.
I mean, having said that, now that thing's happening to me where I'm like, no, I know what happens in that book. And my brain's like, do you?
They go on holiday and are staying in the sanatorium, aren't they? And people start...
It's a hotel opening.
Yeah.
In an old sanatorium, but I'm pretty sure there's no dead man on a golf course.
Twist.
I'm thinking it's a plot. I'm thinking it's fiction.
We all
I'm
think.
gonna go with plot as well.
Yeah, I feel like regular people don't wander around with photos in their pockets that could lead to an asylum of some kind.
Yeah.
All right.
But my track record in this game is not good, so potentially just go against whatever I vote for.
Okay. So are we all saying plot?
Plot.
Okay.
Yes.
And we're ending on a high. Yes, unanimous. Correct. Any ideas of what this is?
No.
No? Okay. So this is actually an Agatha Christie.
Oh my God, I have that book. I have that book.
Yeah, why didn't they ask Evans? Actually, and the reason I put it in is because it was here. I got it at a secondhand bookshop, like on our tandem retreat, our holiday retreat, and I was like, what jumps out to me? What seems strange? Why didn't they ask Evans? I'm like, well, now I need to know why. So I haven't read it yet, but that is the premise. Why didn't they ask Evans? Right.
Okay.
So that concludes Truth or Plot. Thank you so much for playing. Yay. I'm so excited that I managed to fool you a little bit. Not gonna lie. And
how did the romance team do well, or did they do as badly as us?
So it was very different, actually. The game for the romance genre was actually, I gave them like a romance book sounding title, and they had 30 seconds to give me a plot.
A pitch for it.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah. So different. I wouldn't have known what to think with any of these, and I really did my best to trick you. Excellent job. That was really fun. I have a couple more questions before we wrap up this thriller genre chat. I would love for you each to tell us about either a favorite or an upcoming tandem thriller campaign.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's literally like asking me to pick my favorite child. Do No Harm was great. Do No Harm, that came out last summer, and it's by an author called Jack Jordan, who I hadn't heard of until we booked to work on Do No Harm. And now he is an author for me. Do No Harm is about a surgeon, and then one day she is given a choice that she has to kill the next patient on her table, or someone is going to kill her son. And that's like kind of in essence what Jack does. Jack writes these brilliant, unfathomable choice narratives, which actually I would say is now a full-on sub-genre of crime genres. And I was actually just talking to somebody else about his writing yesterday, and he writes women so well. Like never, ever, ever at one point am I going, oh, a man's written this book about a woman. No, it's brilliant from start to finish. And I think the reason that I love that campaign so much is because we had the consistent back and forth with the participants. Like, are you going to kill the patient, or are you going to save your son? What are you doing? What are you doing? And it was that kind of flip-flop back and forth throughout the whole read along, because it kind of changed depending on which chapter you were on.
Amazing. That also reminds me of An Unwanted Inheritance, because there was like, would you take the money? Or if you did, what would you do with it? Sort of thing. So I think that can be what makes thrillers a really fun tandem campaign to be a part of. Jenny, how about you?
So I'm going with an upcoming one, which is The Running Club.
Oh, I so want to read this. I've got this on my Kindle.
It's so good. This is another one that throughout, obviously I read it to write the questions, so I was having to stop and think each time of like as if I was a participant. But even without doing that, there were points where I would literally sit down and talk to myself or the dog or cat. Well, if this person did it, then where were they? But they were over there, so they can't have done this. But if I had got a whiteboard in front of me, I would have set up a full murder board for it. It was just one of those that led itself so well to that sort of plotting out and trying to solve it yourself. It's one of those that I adore, because by the end, it's like we were saying earlier, every single clue is on the page. And I did not get it right. I did not get it, but I could see every single bit which I missed and how they got to that point. every single clue was there, and I was like, this is fantastic. So I am so excited for that one.
Aurora.
Jenny, just before we move on, are you, like, as a fellow runner, are you now scared to run because of the running club?
No, because
Okay, fine.
only
No, that's fine. I just don't want to
her
read
running-
it and then be scared.
No, it was one where actually her running, she didn't get murdered because of running, so I'm fine with that.
Great.
I'm not going to join a running club, but you know.
Oh,
We
I
have
see.
a running WhatsApp group. That's in. Oh, Alexis, you're in it as well. We have a running WhatsApp group. That's a club enough.
I
Yes,
am, but
I'm gonna run with
I'm not an active participant because I am not an active runner at the moment. So funny how a thriller chat has led to my lack of exercise regimen. But there you go. Aurora, how about you?
If you ask me about upcoming read-alongs, I'm gonna say I'm very jealous of Lex because she's doing Conviction by Jack Jordan as well. Because when I saw that we were doing that read-along, I was like, oh my God, I really want to work on that one. So that is my most anticipated upcoming read-along. But I think one of the ones that I liked the most was The Family Upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
I read that book in one day. I was like, what happened? Like, what happened to this family? Where are they? You know, and I don't know if there are many, thrillers with a second book, but I think The Family Remains was very good as well. Like, it gave me closure. I know what happened. I understood everything perfectly. So I did enjoy that campaign very much. Yeah,
I've got The Family Remains, the second book, back there. Lex and I actually went to the audiobook release for that second book, so there is footage of that on the Tandem Instagram. But I agree, it is kind of rare for there to be a series where the narrative and the plot are carried from the first to the second in a thriller. Oftentimes you have the same detective working on a new case every book, but to have it be about the same crime or mysterious happening over more than one book is kind of rare. So that was really cool.
And to add to that, it's so rare for it to carry over to two books, but for each individual book to still feel complete.
Mm-hmm.
Like it, the first one didn't end like, ooh, to be continued, which I would hate.
Yes. And the other one, The Conviction, it was called? The Conviction. So, Aurora, I don't know if you or our viewers know, but if you apply to be on a read-along and you don't make it onto the read-along, you can still be added into the DM group for the read-along. You just have to provide your own copy of the book. But so a little inside tandem tip for you there. Okay, the next two questions, which are going to wrap us up, I think we're going to get like a rapid fire of thriller recommendations. I wanted to ask each of you which thriller author you've read the most books of.
Lisa Jewell.
Mm-hmm. Have you read all of her books?
No, because she didn't start out as writing thrillers. She started out as writing like contemporary fiction with kind of romance lifestyle, and then the thrilling plot lines started to creep in, so I can't go all the way back for my sins.
Gotcha. But you've read all of her thrillers.
Most of her thrillers, all of Claire McIntosh's books I've read. They are excellent.
Have you read all of Alice Feeney?
I think I'm missing one from Alice Feeney. His and Hers. I haven't read His and Hers, but I've read everything else.
that one is really good. His and Hers.
Oh, it's good? Okay. Oh, bloody hell.
There you go. All right, then Aurora, how about you? What author have you read the most books of?
So male authors, I'm gonna say James Patterson. And female authors, I'm gonna say Cara Hunter.
Cara Hunter.
I love her thrillers. They are very different to like normal thrillers, and the twists are really good. It always throws me off. Yeah, Cara Hunter.
I've never heard of her. So what's her most well-known book, or like where would you start for somebody that's never heard of her?
Right, so she's writing a detective series, and the first one in the series is Close to Home. I read every single book on the series after that one because it was that good. I read it so quickly, and it's not divided by chapters, it's just a whole thing going on, but it has like newspaper articles and audio notes and different things like WhatsApp conversations, and it's very dynamic. So even though you don't have like a break, it doesn't feel very heavy, because there are so many different things going on. And I love her.
That sounds like such a good book so we're coming out, Tandem is coming out with a print version of No Life for a Lady with like QR codes and things in it. And that sounds like a perfect kind of book for like, oh, this QR code on the page will lead you to a recording of a voice note that you can listen to or something like that. So Cara Hunter Publishers, call us. Jenny, how about you?
I don't know. Because like we were saying, you don't very often get thriller authors who write series. And so I tend to just dip in and out rather than reading someone's whole backlist. I think probably I've read quite a few: Lucy Foley, Ruth Ware.
Ruth Ware.
Who else I've got? I'm looking on my shelves like, who else have I got quite a few books of? But yeah, I tend to literally just read sporadically and just find a book that looks good rather than going, I'm going to read from that author.
I'm the same, to be honest, with the exception of Thursday Murder Club, which is like kind of the narrative does continue, like those two Lisa Jewell books throughout all of the volumes. I also dip in and out. I don't think I have any like multiple authors in my thriller book collection here. Okay, final question. For those who don't read thrillers, are kind of, maybe even a little scared by them, it's not their thing, where would you start?
The thriller that got me into reading thrillers, it's Gone Girl. So I'm gonna say that one. I think it's a classic. You have to read it. If you like thrillers, you have to read it. And the movie is as good. So after that one, I just started just reading more and more thrillers, and it has become my favorite genre. So I'm gonna say that one, Gone Girl.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I really like Sharp Objects as well. I've read that, but not Gone Girl, interestingly.
I think, like we were saying at the beginning, there are so many subgenres to thrillers that if you haven't read thrillers, what do you currently read? And there will be a thriller for you. If you're a contemporary reader, maybe something like Finley Donovan is Killing It by Helga Zamano. It's a contemporary thriller. If you read YA, go on something like Holly Jackson, who's incredible. If you like podcasts, find like a podcast thriller, something like, is it the Twyford Code that's told through audio?
Girl 11.
Yeah, Girl 11 as well. Even something like, if you're a fantasy reader, things like horror can be fantastical. We're not going to have elves and fairies in it, but you can still have that kind of element of, is this real? So I think, there's a way into thriller from most other genres, and it's just fantastic. Even something like romance, this is creepy as, it's about basically this dating service where they match you up based on your DNA. It does not go well.
That's the little difference between thrillers and romance. Like romance, usually guaranteed a happy ending. Thrillers, there's usually going to be at least one dead body by the ending, but
One of these people is, and again, this isn't a synopsis, it's not a spoiler, but there's a police detective who is matched with a serial killer. But it's like that. It's a really great book. But again, if you're a romance reader and you want to get into thriller, you've got some of the same tropes, but you've got that thrilling, almost psychological aspect of that one.
Ooh, I really like that. Lex, where should people start if they want to start reading thrillers?
I found this really hard because I really like really dark, gritty, like blood and guts kind of books. But the way that I got there is actually through books like Jodi Picoult. Because Jodi is not thriller writer. I would not class any of her books as thrillers, but I would class all of them as having that same roller coaster, edge of your seat. I am so invested in this book, I have to know what happens. And if anybody has ever read a Jodi Picoult novel, then you all know she does not, there's no pussyfooting around. She is tackling the big issues, the big topics. We worked on Mad Honey last year, which was excellent, absolutely mind-blowing. And there is a dead body, so crime adjacent, but that kind of dramatic tension, contentious, controversial subjects could be the gateway to crime, I think. Because if you like that level of tension and high stakes, concerning problems, then the next step is going to be crime. And I would suggest something like Lisa Jewell, because you've got such a strong character dynamic. Like Lisa Jewell writes about families or mothers and daughters or Neighbours, it's always very relationship based. So you don't have to start with somebody being chopped up and dissolved into hydrochloric acid or something. I mean, that book is available should you want it, but
right.
You don't have to
And you know where to get the title. She's right here. Yes, that is really exciting just to hear about, all these different avenues. If you are at all interested in thrillers and aren't sure where to start. So I want to thank Jenny, Aurora, and Lex for joining me in this video and talking about all things thrillers. Let us know what your thriller recommendations are in the comments. Let us know if you would like to see more videos about thrillers or maybe one of the subgenres of thrillers, and we will work to make that happen. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.